I am live. Hello. I don't see anyone here yet, but welcome. Welcome to Purpose Performer. I am Cynthia Garcia and I am doing this live. I had a video that dropped actually yesterday, and it was talking about keeping our integrity as Christians in the arts and entertainment field. And I don't know if anyone got a chance to see it, but I thought, maybe I can do a live and we can chat about that more because it is a real thing. But before I go too much longer, I'll maybe give a few minutes for people to get here. But again, my name is Cynthia. I am a playwright. I am an actor. I started out in this acting field in the late 90s, maybe before that. But I went to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York City, and I loved it. It was conservatory training. It was rigorous training for 2 years, and I absolutely loved it. Once you finish there, you get a professional acting certificate, and my focus was on theater. And my idea was to segue into film after doing some of the theater parts of acting. I love live theater. You can't go wrong with live theater because anything can happen in live theater. And welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining Purpose Performer on tonight. Oh, Parabellum, I'm so happy to see you here. We're going to be talking about the integrity of an actor once they get really deep into some serious roles, how they can maintain their integrity as an artist of faith and still bring the goods when the script needs the actor to bring the goods. So thank you for being here. I was just sharing a little bit about my background and how I absolutely loved attending the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York City. This was the type of acting program where you had to be invited back for the second year. And if you were not invited back, it was probably due to your lack of attendance or lack of being on time. Timeliness was something that was very much drilled into the program, which I loved. I loved AMDAT, and I loved the energy of New York City at that time in the 90s. But I think that is enough about me. But if y'all have some questions, if you have questions, please feel free to. I'm going to put you on another tab here. But if you have questions, drop them in the chat. I'll come back and I will check the chat from time to time. But tonight, I wanted to talk about this topic because it's a topic that I think affects a lot of people, but we don't actually talk about it a lot. And it's about, can you be a faithful Christian and a working actor in today's industry. And so I thought to myself, just based on some personal life's experiences and some conversations that I've had with other talent, how they maintain their integrity, how they discern what types of roles they should actually take and roles that they should probably turn down. And so, do y'all think it's possible to stay faithful to your Christian values and beliefs while pursuing a career in acting, especially in an industry where it feels that your morals can be quickly compromised, or maybe you can be blacklisted because you are not maybe agreeable to what is being offered to you? I want to invite y'all to share your thoughts in the comments before we go too far. And I just want to encourage a respectful dialogue. This space isn't about judgment because we are going to be talking about a few different actors and their choices, but this is not to judge. This is actually about truth. It's about conviction and honestly wrestling with our creative calling. So I want to talk about some of the conflicts that I think actors of faith, particularly Christians, face. And you don't have to be a Christian to be on this live tonight. If you are here and you're not a Christian tonight, you are still welcomed. I am an actress of faith, and so I it's just what I talk about because it's a big part of who I am. But you don't have to be here because I am a Broadway trained actress, and I do believe I have some. I think I can add value, basically. So it doesn't matter if you're an artist of faith or not, but I am, and I do talk about it a lot, and I don't want it to be offensive to you. I want you to feel welcomed here. But some of the conflicts that I think actors of faith face are being offered roles that involve nudity or profanity, or maybe roles that conflict with their values. They feel pressure to hide their faith to fit in. And they may struggle with fear of being labeled, difficult, or being labeled too righteous. And I think as artists of faith, we're always wanting to honor God, but we also want to succeed professionally. Wouldn't you agree? We want to honor the Lord, but we also want to succeed professionally, whatever that means to each and every last one of us. For me, success just looks like working and getting the roles that I can really sink my teeth into. Because initially, I guess coming right out of acting school, I actually did run into one of the challenges that we're talking about here. It wasn't nudity, it wasn't profanity, and it didn't necessarily conflict with my values, but I was a newlywed at the time. And in my early career, I was always cast as the girlfriend, and I always had to put my lips on somebody else's lips who wasn't my husband. And at first, I really didn't have a problem with it, but when I was married, I started to have more of a problem with it. The reason I didn't have a problem with it is because I wanted to be true to the character. And to me, if showing affection or a kiss was a part of the relationship that I was in, or for the character that I was playing, I did not have a problem with it. But being a married young lady and having my husband out in the audience, I started not to like that. And also, I was learning to grow. I was learning to be a wife and grow as a wife. And I was thinking about, well, I know that my husband supported me in this acting venture, but I was also thinking, hey, if he was on stage, would I be so cool about it? And I decided I probably wouldn't like it. I know it's acting, but I still probably wouldn't like it. And let's be real, actors, when they are casting actors and the actors have to be a little bit more intimate in scenes, they are casting also for chemistry. So, and that chemistry is real. That chemistry translates across the stage. And so when that chemistry translates across the stage, there can be, some attraction to actors, but you're just playing a role, and all of the rehearsals and all of the things. And that's why boundaries are so important. And no one really talked about this at acting school. The only thing they said at acting school about boundaries was to stay off the casting couch. That was told to us, stay off the casting couch. And it was like, we really didn't talk about it too deeply, but it was, the implication was that there was a casting couch and people were on it. And it was like, is that how people are getting jobs? So yeah, when the Me Too thing came out just a few years ago, we see that the casting couch is a real thing. But anyway, I digress. I'm really talking about boundaries here. Let's see. I'm going to check the chat. Oh, hi, Erica. You're here. You personally prefer to watch movies where it does not show any nudity and using profane words. And you know what? Thank you, because a lot of the movies, it seems, they actually, the shock value typically for the, I guess, for a general part of the population, the shock value is not there anymore. And it seems like people are just wanting to see how many times they can put the F word in one script and how many times they can get an actor to say it. And it's so many words that can be used to, really truly um, get your message out, whatever it is that the film is about. There's a way to tell a story, and there's so many words that can be used besides profane ones. I think when profanity is used, it's sort of dehumanizing, and I don't think people think about it this way, but it is because it's dehumanizing to the actor who has to say the profane words, and then it's dehumanizing to the listener because it just takes you down a notch. And one reason that I started this channel, one reason for it was to edify people, to lift people up, to make people better, if that makes any sense. But I'm so glad you're here, Erica. Thank you for watching. And so we're still going on with our topic about, keeping boundaries. And I'll keep checking the chat to see what people are thinking about or talking about. But I was thinking about Denzel Washington. Did y'all see Training Day? When Training Day came out, Denzel, he was doing all of the, I'm sorry, he was doing, my mic here just fell a bit. Let me see if I can get it adjusted. Okay. But he was doing, the regular rounds on oh, thank you. And he was doing the rounds about, when he was being approached about the role to play Alonzo. Alonzo Harris was his character in Training Day. He's the rogue cop, if you haven't seen Training Day. And so he was going back and forth with the writers about it because he was thinking that the character he played didn't die a horrific enough death. And he said to himself, if this character dies like this horrible death, then I can take the role because the wages of sin is death. And if you watch that film has Denzel doing some. First of all, he's a cop, but he's a dirty cop and he commits crimes. And not only that, he's a bad example for the new cop. See, that's why it's called Training Day, because he's training a new cop. And he is such a bad example of what being a cop, what being an enforcer of the law represents. And he is just doing the most. And anyway, but Denzel said that if he took that role, he would have to, as the character, suffer a most horrific death. And they made some changes to the script. And if you have seen that movie, you see that he gets shot up in his car pretty badly. And so that's it about Denzel. But I had some other actors that I thought were pretty interesting. There's this actor, and his name is, I have it here, I think it's Alan, that I wanted to talk about. But this actor, Alan Richson, no. It's Neal McDonough. Neal McDonough. And the last name is spelled McDonough. And speaking of the kissing thing, he has lost jobs because he has refused to kiss another woman besides his wife, because he takes his marital vows very seriously. And so an article actually just came out last month where he actually did his first on-screen kiss. But guess what it was? He got his wife to play this role in, I'm not sure what show it is. I should have had it pulled up here, but he got her to play the role. So then he was able to have his first on-air kiss. And I thought that was pretty pretty cool. But he has maintained his stance on no, I'm not going to be kissing any other women. Also, Boris Kojo, who's married to Nicole Ari Parker, they were back in the day, they both met. On the movie, it was called, oh my goodness, I didn't have that in my notes, but it was, oh, it's almost there. It was about a family. Do y'all know the movie that I'm talking about from back in the day? It was a family and they would meet on Sundays. It was a black family. And Boris Kojo, let me see what the name of that movie was. But anyway, they were on that show, and Nicole Ari Parker. Soul Food. They met on the show Soul Food, and they're married now. And Boris decided the same thing as the other actor, that he was not going to be putting his lips on any other woman. But actually, before that, he would do kissing, but he would actually tell the girls how to kiss him, or how they're, you know, it would be very, very well, that should I say, structured. He was not going to allow, people to be putting their tongue in his mouth, basically. And so he was very strict about that. But there is, I think, a way that you can be faithful to your art and faithful to the Lord. I want to talk about how, we have some examples of people who are actually in the Bible, that they found themselves in spaces where they had to maintain their integrity, like Daniel. I don't know if y'all ever read about Daniel, but Daniel was there a law went forth where they were told, when this is when the Israelites were taken captive by the Babylonians, and they made a law that you couldn't pray to anyone but the king. People were jealous of Daniel, and they said that no one could pray to anyone but the king. But Daniel maintained his praying practice by praying 3 times a day. He would turn his face towards Jerusalem. He would pray 3 times a day. And as a result, he ended up being thrown into the lion's den, because that law that went out, it couldn't be changed. But we saw that God was faithful on the other end of the story, on the other side of the story, because the next morning, when the king went out to Daniel, and he was like, hey Daniel, did the God you serve, did he save you? And Daniel was like, yeah, he did, I'm still here. He closed the lions mouths. And the king was amazed. And the people who reported Daniel for praying, they and their families were thrown into the lion's den. They didn't even hit the bottom of the den before the lions began to attack them, and the people suffered the fate that they deserved. But so we do have some biblical examples of people maintaining their faith even in the midst of facing imminent death, being thrown into a lion's den. To me, that is akin to some sort of like the death penalty. Like, we have what, I'm here in Texas, and we have the electric chair. And actually, did we take the death penalty away? I don't even know, to be honest with you. But I know we used to have it, and I think we still do have it. I'm not sure, but the death penalty is what basically Daniel faced. But he was like, you know what? I'm going to maintain my prayers, and I'm not caring about what's going to happen to me. And the Lord saved him. So I thought that was a really good example. And I think it's also important for us to, yes, maintain our integrity and maintain the talent that we have. So when we were talking about acting, and acting is a craft. I know we maybe see people do skits, maybe in, like, if you're a part of an organization and then they want to do a skit on a theme, and people get to play and it's fun. But I'm talking about the real, not the real, I don't want to dismiss that, because that's really fun. I'm just talking about the study behind it, for people who actually are in the acting field, how they go and they trace maybe the backstory of a character, and they look at the given circumstances of what's going on in the script, and they look at what people say about their character, what the playwright says about their character, or the screenwriter says about their character, what they themselves say about their character in the script. They get to mine for those clues. I think that is really, really, I don't know, that is the work. That's the real work that I like to do, that technical work, analyzing the script, seeing, how the beats are changing and how the scene is sort of, coming alive off the page, and what I can do with my art, with the creativity that I have. And so I think we do have a responsibility to be accountable to the creative calling on our lives. I do think we have that responsibility. I also think we have to do it in a way that is God honoring. And therein lies the rub, as they say. So I just want to share with you some encouragement on not legalism. I'm not saying you just have to be dogmatic about things, but I want to encourage you all to have discernment when you are taking on these roles, because for me there are certain roles I absolutely will not take. I'm not going to take anything that glorifies any type of evil. I understand that we're in a spiritual battle, and I'm not going to be on the side that's helping to perpetuate that evil, I guess, spirit in the world. I'm not going to help to enlarge that territory. So I'm not going to do anything that's dark. Some people are challenged by that. I don't know if y'all saw what was the movie, Black Panther, when Black Panther was out, and Michael B. Jordan, he had to go into therapy after he played in that movie, because his part was so dark. And because the thing about acting is, yeah, it is other people's words, but it's our body. We're using our mind, we're using our, you know, appendages, we're using our mouth and all of the faculties of our being to bring the character to life. And if we're serious actors, we're going into the most deep places because we want to be authentic. We want to come across as telling the truth, being true to the character. So as an actor, you have to already discern what you're going to take or what you're not going to take. You're already going to need to know those boundaries beforehand. So I just want to encourage you to peak your discernment, help your discernment, learn to be more discerning, and even just by asking questions of yourself, and even maybe asking questions of people that you trust. And so, to be led by the Holy Spirit, but not legalism, because sometimes you can miss an opportunity. And but if the Lord is leading you to do it, then he does everything with purpose. um, some things you can do is you can ask questions like, will the role compromise your witness, or will it glorify God, or are you being called to be, light in that area, or are you called to be salt in that area? You can ask those types of questions when you're discerning on trying to determine if it's a role that you should or should not take. And I just have a few more points here, and then we're going to go. Thank you for being here again. Let me check the chat to see if anybody. Okay, just a few more things here, and we'll be done. So here I want to offer a decision making tool for you, and the acronym is LIGHT, 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 where you listen to the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit's never going to lead you wrong. And this is how I know that I'm being led by the Holy Spirit, is when I'm following peace. There's a scripture that talks about following peace. And when there is like just a piece to a decision that you have made that you really can't explain, then I believe you're being led of the Lord. Investigate the material. That's the I. You can invest. You can ask, especially when you have an agent. You can ask to read the script beforehand, to see if it's something that you would like to be a part of. It's just a question, so you would investigate the material and guard your heart. That's the G is guard your heart. And the reason you need to guard your heart is because, as I expressed at the beginning when I was in that show, where I had to kiss that guy and I was a newlywed, and because it's a physical thing, but it can actually become an emotional thing, especially if the other character, they may be attractive, that you're two attractive people that the casting team or casting directors, they've paired you together, and now that it could be a little of an attraction there. And if you are in a committed relationship, like I was and am with my husband, and I think he had a girlfriend too, you have to guard your heart, and you have to just keep the work, and everything else is just go back to your personal lives. So guard your heart. And H, hold to your convictions. There are going to be so many opportunities for you to not hold to your convictions. You may be criticized, you may be ridiculed, but if you hold to your convictions, that is the most satisfying thing, to know that you haven't compromised your integrity. You never want to be asking the question, what if I had not taken whatever job it is? Because you take it, and then other things pop up as a result, because internally you may be getting a great big check, and you may be getting some esteem, because you're on maybe television or a big screen, but inside, that something is missing. There's a void, and it could be because you did not hold to your convictions. So hold to your convictions. And then T, trust God's plan for your life. And that's in everything, not just in acting, not just in going out on the auditions, and not just by showing up to the rehearsals. In every part of our lives, we really should be trusting God's plans. I want to share how you can set some boundaries in auditions and in rehearsal rooms. And what you can do is be self aware of how you present yourself. And it's not to say that you're not friendly. It's not to say that you're not kind. It's not to say that you're not endearing. None of those things. But if a topic comes up that you already thought about it, you already know what you are and what you are not going to do, and the question is asked of you, or the material is presented to you, because you have already thought about it beforehand, you will know how to set that boundary. So for me, so say for example, they give me a script, and I already told you I'm not going to do any kissing scenes. Because at this point in my life, I may be cast more as a wife. Now, I will do, maybe a kiss or a hug, maybe a kiss on the cheek or something, but I'm not going to be up here. You know what I'm talking about, those love making scenes. No, I'm not doing it. And they probably wouldn't ask me at this point anyway, but I'm just saying, let's just say, for example, that is the thing that's on the table. You should be as direct, but as gracious as possible, to say that you're not comfortable doing that. And you should ask, are there any options for you to convey the same emotion without having to do all of that? It could become a collaborative process as artists and creatives in the room, rather than a deal breaker. The director and the playwright or the screenwriter, they have a vision of what they would like to see. And if they want this particular actor, that's you, that's me. If they want us, then here's a way to get that same idea across, but maybe without me having to, take all my clothes off and show everything, whatever the case may be. So know beforehand what your boundaries are. So now I just want to invite you into the conversation. Do y'all have any questions? Oh, here's a question. Hello. Oh, hi, Leah from South Dakota. Thank you for watching. I'm so happy to see you. What suggestions can you offer for parents who have kids that want to get into act? I would say to parents that they need to get their kids into some sort of classes. They need to, and I am not the parent of an actor, but I have been in auditions where I have seen where they try to separate the parents, and they do separate parents from their kids. And I have been in auditions with little kids when I was going to be the mom, and the kids were potentially going to be my kids. And they were the most grown, and it was like, are you really 8 years old? You seem 15. And what I'm saying is they are exposed to so much. And I would say, because I'm saying this from a Christian perspective, I would respectfully make my presence known, because that is my child. But if my child has an agent, I would respectfully let it be known, that I'm going to be in the audition. I'm just going to, be present. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the process or anything like that. But I think it's not a good thing just to send kids off with strangers in a room. Now, there was more than myself in the room, but that's not the point that I'm making. What I am really trying to convey here is, the reason I didn't personally like the setup was because there was an intention to keep the parents out, is as if the kids are professionals, so they need to go alone. And I don't like that. So I would say make your presence known in, a professional, respectful way. Get your kids into an acting class where they can feel comfortable standing up, slating, which is just saying their name and maybe something about themselves. Oh, hi, Jackie. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Where they slate and they say who they are and who is representing them, maybe their agent. And they need to be comfortable doing that. They need to be comfortable learning how to get to their mark. And they also need to be comfortable taking directions, because one thing that casting directors will do is they just to test, who they're working with, they may take a different direction to see if that young kid, that student, that child will take direction. Because if they don't take direction, that could be difficult to manage once you're on set. So thank you for that question. Also, I don't know if you know, they have acting camps. I would, even during the summers, I would look at theaters that you enjoy. Most of the theater companies offer summer camps for kids. And those are fun, because what they do typically, the typical thing for a theater camp during the summer is they'll teach them, they're not necessarily, they'll teach them some basics of acting, maybe like the stage presence, like downstage, upstage, stage right, stage left, those types of things. They'll teach them a bit of the vocabulary of acting. But at the end of the I guess the camp, they will get to put on a show. So they will have an opportunity to, express those skills that they've been working on and learning on. So I definitely would strongly suggest a theater camp. And last but not least, depending on the age of the kid, they have here in Houston, I don't know where you're located, but they have fine arts schools. My sister actually went to a middle school that was for fine arts. And so they had the acting, the dancing. It was like a fame school, but middle school. And then they have the actual high school. So that's my suggestion for parents. But I think as a protector of my child, I would strongly suggest maintaining your presence. Don't just be like, oh yeah, they're a professional. They can go in there and handle it because they very well maybe can do it. You're not trying to give the idea like you're a hover helicopter mom, but you're saying I am a mom or a dad. So Erica says she agrees. If the child is a minor, it is a must for the parent to be there. Thank you. Yes, Erica, because they what in this audition they had the kids come in, they had the parent, it was a mom, they had her stay outside of the room, and then it was me and the kid and the casting director, and so that was it. um Jackie says, I admire all actors so much, how they get in character so well. I'm sure it takes a lot of time. It does. It does. I mean, to be a really good actor, it takes time. And a lot of these actors that you admire, Jackie, I'm sure they went to some type of acting school. And even if they didn't, like, say, I think Beyonce didn't necessarily, well, she had gone to like fine arts and things when she was a child. And I know her focus is singing, but we do know that she was in a couple of movies. And if you get a talent like that, who you are saying, oh, we want this singer to play this actor, what they'll do is they'll just bring on an acting coach and, get them ready for the role. Yeah. Yep. So that's what we got going on. Let me see what else I had before I let y'all go. I'm so happy y'all are here. Thank y'all for being here. Um, So, what I'm going to do as I wind down, I just want to encourage you to that yes, we can be both faithful and creative. It just requires purpose and alignment. And so, I just invite you all to follow me, to subscribe to this channel, and you can share this episode with an actor friend who needs encouragement to know that, it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to set boundaries. Um, let's see. We talked about the gentleman who, yeah, we did all of this. I have my little notes here. I'm just reviewing my notes to see if we covered everything. Um, let's see. Yeah, that's it. If y'all have any more questions, oh, we love you too. Thank you so much, Jackie. And thanks everybody. Thank you all for being here tonight. And let's see, I have a friend from high school where he was in several movies and series. Oh wow, his name is Atkins Edmonds, and he definitely sets boundaries. That is so good. I may need to get him, and I may need to get you to invite him on one of my lives. Since he's working and to talk about how he sets boundaries, because let me tell you before we go, y'all remember with all that Me Too stuff that was going on and all these women. Now, some of these women, they were lying, some of them, let's just be honest. But some people were sexually harassed or abused. And it's a real thing. I had an agent. He was an agent when I was in New York, and I looked him up recently, and I know that he's no longer alive. But he asked me an inappropriate question while I was in his office one day. And I got so nervous. I it's like first of all, it's a shocking thing when it happens. And I think my brain started just working overtime, and I just started thinking I need to get out of this office, because then I became super aware there's nobody here but he and I. And I was like, oh, I don't know how I got out of there, but I was like, I have to go. And when I went home, I told my husband about it, and I commenced to writing a letter, and I told him I no longer need representation. So it is a thing, and you have to set those boundaries. Let's see. He's a parent at my school. He's on Netflix. Oh my goodness, he's such a smart man. Oh wow, yeah, yeah, Jackie. That was a scary situation. That was in New York City. Yeah, he asked a very inappropriate question, and I just like I was like, oh, is he serious? Let me get out of here. Good. Okay, I gotta go. Well, that's all I have for tonight, everybody. I'm so glad y'all came. Thank y'all for being here. And I'll let you know when I do another live and what we'll be talking about again. But thank y'all so much, and you have a good evening. Bye.